Dr. Tom Leonard, our Chap of the Week, Superintendent of Eanes ISD. Dr. Leonard, thanks so much for taking the time. We always talk about the progression of Westlake football, Westlake athletics, and I know some big news dropped Wednesday night with the creation and the approval of the Westlake Athletic Center. And one thing, attending the school board meeting, there seemed to be a lot of confusion. As we get ready for this second half of football on a very exciting game, just briefly educate everybody.
The board accepted a proposal for a land lease and then a partnership with a group called WAC. Mostly I think know what that is, Westlake Athletic Center. And the basics are this. The district has an asset of some land right next to us. That land right now is not being used for anything except some parking. The question is how best to utilize that asset of the community. We do know that we have some lack of some practice space and some practice facilities at the high school. We were able to find a group that is going to build us a facility at no cost to the district and no operating cost to the district for a significant number of years. So that's what was discussed. That's what was approved.
So the opportunity to potentially, with this group, whether it be in the form of an indoor football facility or an indoor field, several indoor fields, a weight room, something like that?
Right. It'll be a turf field of not a full-size football field, but a turf field inside. I think it's 5 full-size basketball courts, some volleyball courts, basic facilities that can be used not only really by athletics, but also by other groups, Highline, cheerleaders, band. Other groups, we're even thinking possibly robotics, will have some ability to get in there when we're looking for space at the high school and just can't find it.
It's good things are coming for Eanes ISD with this partnership, or at least the acceptance of a proposal. The passion behind all of these projects, because at the end of the day, it is for the students, and I think that's where a lot of the confusion came in. This is not about anybody but Eanes ISD and its employees, and more importantly, its students.
Right.
That sometimes gets lost in the discussion because there's so much passion on both sides.
Well, I think it's twofold. I think absolutely the kids should be at the center of what our motivation is. We do believe there are significant uses of a facility like this that will be a benefit to the kids. Secondly, though, as stewards of the community's school district, the board and the administration have to look at an asset that we have, and this is an asset. After someone puts the electrical, the plumbing, the infrastructure in there, that asset at their cost, that asset will be worth more to this community, and that's just good stewardship.
And it's good business, too. I think a lot of people forget that doing good business is exactly what Todd Dodge was sent here for. That's why he was able to come in and really make immediate change. And one of the things that I wanted to talk to you about, I don't want to call you an outsider. You're just not from Texas. You're not from Austin. You're from a completely different world. And I wanted to educate people that might be listening to this broadcast of just who you are, because being from Chicago, there's a lot of passion that you have in the sports world. I think you made that very apparent at the Chap Fest that you're a lovable loser Cub fan.
Right.
And growing up in Austin, I think a lot of people miss the fact that we have had access to the Cubs and the White Sox and the Bulls since I was a kid.
Right.
So by default, every summer before I could work, I watched the Cubs on WGN. So you and I are kind of in the same boat. We definitely do have some common ground somewhere, but we know excellence as well, because even in failure, there's been some pretty good Cub teams from across several generations. But for me, I grew up watching Mark Grace, Sammy Sosa, all those guys, Ryan Sandberg at the end of his career. But talk about just how much sports means to you.
It's kind of interesting. You know, growing up, I was not a stellar athlete. I was an average kid. That's not where I excelled. As I became a teacher, and an interesting story, and I talked to this with Coach Dodge, as I became a teacher, in the first school I was in, I said to the kids, who's the best teacher in this building? And they mentioned a football coach, Bill Mack. So I went to this guy and I said, look, Bill, I wanna coach for you, but no money. I want to be a non-paid coach for you. And I don't want to be paid, because if I'm paid, then I'm responsible for something. It's just, I'll be an extra. I'll do your stats. Bill said sure. And I did it because I wanted to see how he motivated kids, how he taught kids. Guy had impeccable ethics. He was a remote role model he's in the Coaches Hall of Fame in Illinois. I really loved working for him. Now, what happened was some coaches quit. All of a sudden, he was short coaches. I was a paid coach. First year, I'm coaching varsity outside linebackers and backfield. Know nothing. He sat with me every day during the summer, like 5 hours, just writing it all out for me. We were on the field, teaching me how to tackle. I coached for him for 9 years.
Wow.
Loved it. When the kids would come up to me, about 5-6 years, and I actually kind of knew what I was doing, the kid would say, hey, coach, what position did you play when you were in high school? I said, tenor sax. And they would kind of laugh at me, and I'd say, get going. I've always loved, athletics is so great. I mean, there's so much that a child can learn from that. A young man can learn from that. A young woman can learn from that. Everybody in athletics gets knocked down. And, the whole thing you teach them is it's how you get back up. There's the highs and the lows in sports, and we know the lows with the Cubs. We've known the highs with the Bulls and the Blackhawks, and the Sox at different years, and even this Little League team that just, won the championship. Sports are a great way for people to develop some of the character things that they need. Most of these kids who are out here playing tonight, they are not going to be pro football players. Most of them aren't even going to play college football. But the things that you can learn in athletics are just stellar. And the things I learned from Bill Mack and these kids are learning from Coach Dodge are going to be with them for life.
You are a football coach.
I coached football. I'm not Coach Dodge. Okay, now if he calls me for help, I'll do that. I'm not calling him.
With athletes, we normally say student athletes,
Mm-hmm.
and generally in the college game, we kind of understand that it's professional football Inc. when it comes to that kind of game. And there's arguments for and against that kind of thinking. And this is about as pure as it gets.
Right.
And as somebody who has never really experienced Westlake football, and I have all the respect in the world for your former school district, but it's not Texas high school football.
It's not Texas football.
Tell me what you expect next week when Temple comes to Chaparral Stadium and you get to experience your first Westlake football game.
I think it's going to be a fabulous experience, okay? One of the reasons I'm here, I was very happy in the district I was in, but I think it's great to experience new places and new things. We did care about football in Chicago, and we had a team in '85 called the Bears.
Yes, indeed.
So it's like we know nothing about football.
No.
But at the high school level, you're absolutely right. It wasn't quite at the level that I'm starting to understand it is at Texas. You learn a culture, you learn a place, you learn what they're passionate about, and I think you want to embrace it and you want to live it. Just like when I get down here, I want to eat barbecue, right? And there's just some things that you just need to experience. And I think Westlake, from everything I can tell, is just the absolute perfect place in Texas to experience it.
I think I'm going to go ahead and put you on the spot as we wrap things up here. Our Chap of the Week is Dr. Tom Leonard, Superintendent of Eanes ISD. We were launching a website this week in accordance with the Chap Club, the Booster Club arm, and it's westlakenation.com. We also have another digital magazine that we're releasing weekly during football season. It's called Chaps Illustrated. I think what I would like is, just like in your opening letter, where you quoted the Blues Brothers, you quoted the Wizard of Oz, so I understand that you have a certain opportunity to communicate on a level that I think everybody can really understand. But around here, it's so cemented in the livelihood of everybody that's from this community. Would you write a little something for our website and for our magazine about your experience?
Yeah, I will. I'll give you a preview. I'm going to write, and I told Coach Dodge this story, and he liked it. I'll write something for you, and it's called Get a Dog. And it was a Hall of Fame coach in Illinois who, when he was talking to other coaches, he said the number one thing you need to do if you're going to be a head coach in football is get a dog. Maybe we'll use that as something I can write for you guys.
Very good. Well, we're looking forward to not only the rest of this ball game, but also the home opener next week, where Dr. Tom Leonard, our Chap of the Week, gets to experience Westlake football inside Chaparral Stadium for the first time. Thanks so much for doing this, and we appreciate the time.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to next week. It's going to be a great game.